Hi guys. So in reading, we have been reading nonfiction books and talking about the main idea or what the author really wants you to know. And then we've kind of been talking about some things that support those main ideas or what we would call details. And we've also been talking about using text features to help us find out what the author wants us to learn and what things they wanted us to learn about what they wanted us to learn, right? Like what details. So this book I used a lot when I taught kindergarten because it's got great text features in it. So this one's called Powerful Polar Bears. I'm going to read one section and then we're going to fill out this chart together on just one section because the whole book is too overwhelming. And I'm going to find a good book for you on Epic for you to do the same. I might just have you do a section of the book on Epic depending upon what I find. So here we go, Powerful Polar Bears. So I'm just going to read the first section, but look at this nice table of contents. I really like this one because it's got photos that go with each section. So chapter 1 is called Meet the Polar Bear. Chapter 2 is called Home on the Ice. Chapter 3 is called Dinner Time. And chapter 4 is called Bear Cubs. So I'm only going to be reading chapter 1, which is called Meet the Polar Bear. So if we just think about meeting somebody, like if you met a new friend at school or if you met the teacher, you know that they want you to learn about that person, right? So if this is called Meet the Polar Bear, they probably just want to tell us some basic things about the polar bear, right? Maybe what makes him special. So let's keep reading. Meet the polar bear. Brrr. What kind of bear loves to tumble in the snow and swim in icy cold water? The polar bear. The polar bear is the largest member of the bear family. Polar bears are even bigger than grizzly bears. Look at this nice illustration. So these are photographs, right? But this is called a comparison. They put these two together to compare so you could see the difference between the two, right? Here's a grizzly bear and they're huge. And then here's the polar bear right next to it, even bigger. Boy, that illustration or those photographs really help a lot, right? So they've got, and they even labeled them, grizzly bear and polar bear. Okay, so far we've learned how big they are, right? Let's keep going. Polar bears look a lot like their brown and black bear cousins, but there are also some important differences. Polar bears have smaller heads, smaller ears, and longer necks. So here's a photo that really shows his head since they talked about his head. And then I'm going to read this little section here. This is like a text box. It says, Fast Fact. Polar bears' long necks help keep their heads above the water when they swim. So this gives me a little extra detail, more than this. That's what a text box usually does. How big are polar bears? Some full-grown males are 10 feet tall. Wow. And here's a text feature called a chart. So this says a female, and it says how their height, right? The female is usually 7 to 8 feet. A male or a boy one is usually 8 to 10 feet. And a female usually weighs 500 to 600 pounds. And a male usually weighs 720 to 1,700 pounds. Holy cow, that's big. Okay, so here I learned about his head and why it's shaped the way it is. And here I learned about how big they are. Let's keep going. Polar bears have white fur. The fur is great camouflage. It helps them hide in snow. Under the fur, polar bears have black skin. The skin absorbs heat from the sun. This helps them stay warm. Here's another text box, a fast fact. Polar bears have a layer of fat called blubber to keep them warm. So that told us even more information than was down here. And look at this sweet little guy all cuddled up in the snow. Isn't he cute? Okay, here we go. Look at this interesting photo. I love this graphic. This gives us lots of information. Let's read first. Polar bears have special feet. The bottom of their paws have little bumps like a basketball. This keeps them from slipping on the ice. polar bears also have extra skin between each toe like a duck. This helps them swim. So look here, there's the bottom of their foot, and they're saying that it's like a basketball, because if you've ever seen a basketball, it has those little bumps on it. Or I also think a little bit about like the bottoms of your slippers have those little dots all over them, or if you have special socks, have little bumps all over them, so you don't slide on like your wooden floor or on your tile floor. So polar bears have that built in on their feet. That's pretty amazing. And then in between their toes, they're webbed like a duck. See how it shows this picture to help you understand what's going on their foot, right? That adds lots of detail. Really helps me understand. Okay, so that's the end of this chapter. So what I really learned in this chapter, Meet the Polar Bear, I learned about how big they are compared to a grizzly bear. I learned about how their heads are shaped, right? Learned about how big they are again. I learned about their fur. And then over here, I also learned about their feet, right? So on this graphic, I'm going to really smush it all together and say, okay, I learned all about special features of polar bears, like special things on their body. So I'm going to write that in a sentence. Polar bears have special things on their body. Maybe I'll make it smaller. Polar bears have special bodies. Let's do that. A nice sentence. Polar bears have special bodies. That's what I learned from this section. That wasn't really written anywhere nice for me. I had to kind of really think about it after I read the whole thing. Polar bears have special bodies. Now, this time, I have 3 details. One here, and one here. So, what were some details about their special bodies? What did we learn? Remember I told you about how I learned how big they are? So I'm going to write down that I learned that they are larger than a grizzly bear, okay? That's my detail I learned from the book. They are larger than a grizzly bear. So I wrote that there, look. They are larger than a grizzly bear. Let me go back and look. What else did I learn? There's the grizzly bear part, right? I learned that. Oh, I remember. I learned about their heads. Okay, what was it? Oh no, it was more about their neck. Their necks are long so their heads stay above water, right? That's kind of long. Polar bears have long necks to help with swimming, kind of. Polar bears have long necks to keep their heads above water. How about we write that? They have long necks to keep their heads out of water. Boy, that's a lot of writing. They have long necks to keep their heads out of the water. Okay, so there we go. I still need to think of one more thing that they learned. Let's see. What did I learn? Oh man, I've got 2 things I could have written down. That's okay. I could have written down how they have white fur to camouflage, or I could write down about their special feet, right? I really like this fact about that they have little bumps on their feet so they don't slip. So that's what I'm going to write down. I could have written lots of things. So I'm going to say, they have bumps on their feet so they don't slip. Look at all this. They have bumps on their feet so they don't slip. Now, if writing is tricky for you, then you could probably shorten this a little bit, okay? You could just write special bodies, big, long necks, and bumps on feet, okay? And I would take that. I would love big, long sentences if you can handle it. But if writing is really a challenge for you, And maybe you're in groups like 1, and you really feel like you need to shorten this assignment a little bit. Just writing 1 or 2 words is okay. But those of you that can handle it, don't take the easy way out, okay? Okay, try to write me nice sentences. So I'm going to find you a good book on Epic so you can practice this too, finding 3 details about a topic. And remember, I only just picked 1 chapter out of this to use, okay? So I'll get you a good book to practice.